Hi everyone, this is the first lesson of chapter 1. Right, so for this lesson, the objective will be recap on how to do expansion by distributive law as well as factorization by common factor. Okay, both of these you have already learned them last year, so this lesson will be more like a recap. Right, so first let us look at expansion. Right, so what is expansion? Well, okay, first example here, I have a 2 times 3, right? So 2 times 3, all of us knows the answer is 6. So what we want to recap here is basically what does it mean? Okay, like 2 times 3 equals to 6. What does this 6 means? So you can think of it like a rectangle of length 3 and a breadth 2. Alright, and 2 times 3 basically is 6. So you can think of expansion as finding the area of a rectangle. Right, so if you expand this further, so now instead of 2 times 3, it is 2 multiplied by 3 plus x. Alright, so how do we do this? Well, this will be my breadth, same as above, and this will be my length. So my length here will be 3 plus x. So what is 3 plus x? We can basically split them up into 2 lengths. Okay, we can split them up into 2 lengths. So in short, I'm dividing this rectangle into 2 smaller rectangles. So what's the area of this rectangle over here? It will be 2 times 3, 6. And what is the area of this rectangle? Well, since this big rectangle, this breadth here is 2, over this side it will also be 2. So 2 times x gives me a positive 2x. And hence, that's how we get the answer, 6 plus 2x. Alright, some of you may have learned, multiplication with a bracket. We simply do by the arrow method. Well, the arrow method, you can do that. It is basically a shortcut. Okay, it's basically a shortcut. Now, if we expand this further, now not only that the length has 2 terms, even the breadth has 2 terms. So you can see this whole thing as my breadth and this whole thing as my length. Alright, using the same technique as above, I can have my 7c minus 3d at the top. I split into 2 rectangles. Alright, I have my c plus 2d as the breadth, and I split into 2 parts. So now I split my rectangle, my whole big rectangle, into 4 smaller rectangles, and each one individually I go and find out what is the area. So this one will be 7c squared. Alright, this will be negative 3cd, 14cd, negative 6d squared. So with this, now my answer, it will become, right, just write out the 4 area first, 7c squared minus 3cd plus 14cd, okay, and minus 6d squared. Alright, so simplify this, look for like terms. So recap what are terms. So over here, there are 4 terms. Over here, there are 4 terms. Right, look at how I divide the terms. So if you're not sure of the terms, do pay attention at this part. Right, so there are 4 terms here. You can think of the terms as cuts. Right, cuts. So I can shift them about. Okay, take note on where the sign is. So the sign and the number or algebra after that is always together. Right, so these two are like terms because both of them have the CD. Right, CD, CD. Right, C square and CD, they are unlike terms. Right, because one has D and over here there's a C square. So like terms, what I do, the coefficient, right, I can actually use calculator to press them to get the answer. Okay, so this is how we can add or subtract like terms. So this one will give me 7c squared. Negative 3 plus 14 gives me positive 11. Alright, and because both of these are the CD term, so this one will be CD. And lastly, negative 6d squared. Right, so this one will be the expansion. Right, next we move on to the factorization. Right, the next part, factorization by common factor. Right, so factorization by common factor. Now what it is, now the question is basically basically opposite of expansion. So 2x plus 6, I want to factorize this. So what must I do? First I look at the number. So like the factors of 2 will be 1 and 2, right? Factors of 6 will be 1, 2, 3 and 6. Alright, then what do I do? Okay, as the name says, as the words here suggest, common factor. So I look for the common factor, the highest common factor. So it's a 2, right? So my answer will be a 2. This is the common factor for both of these two terms, 2x plus 6. And what I'm left with is, well, I take 2x divided by 2. Okay, I take 2x divided by 2, I'm left with x. Over here, I take 6 divided by 2, I get 3, a positive 3. So this is how I get. Alright, so this is factorization by common factor. Now if we extend further, alright, common factor is not limited to the numbers, but the algebra as well. So how do we do this? So like this one, 16AW plus 20AV. How do I factorize it? First, I look at the coefficient. Okay, ignore the letter first, look at the coefficient, 16 and 20. The highest common factor will be a 4. Right, both are divisible by 4. So I write down 4 first. Then next, I move my attention to the algebra. Right, the letter, look at the common letter. So letter is very easy compared to the number. So both of them has A, right? So A is the common factor. Alright, and then what do I have now? So over here is a division. So over here I'm supposed to have 16AW divided by 4A. 16AW divided by 4A. Now how do I divide? Look at the number first. So 16 divided by 4 gives me 4, right? So I write down the 4. And then I look at the letter. So AW divided by A, right? I'm left with W. So the trick here is to look at the number and the algebra separately. Right, then the next one, same, 20AV divided by 4A. Same thing, 20 divided by 4, positive 5, right? So positive 5. Right, AV divided by A gives me a V. So there you have it. This will be the answer. How to check the answer? If I do this expansion, I should be getting the question. Right, so this is how we do. Okay, last part for this video. Now, if I extend this further, okay, common factor, right? So common factor is not limited to just a number or in a term. Okay, in this case, right, we're going to do a simple one first. The first one, this one, mx plus 3nx. So this one, if I look at the number, there's the common factor is a 1. So 1 we can basically ignore, because if I divide anything by 1, there's no change. Right, and then I look at the letter, right, both got x. So over here, this one, the common factor is only x. So this will be m plus 3n. Right, then to look at this example, I'm going to use this example to do the next one. Now the next one over here. Now this question at first glance, when you look at it, you may feel like you're going to expand it. Alright, but please don't, because the question will be telling you to factorize. So look at the question carefully, right? Telling you to factorize. Now if we observe over here, there are two brackets that are exactly the same. Bracket y plus 1. So both terms has this bracket y plus 1. Now what you can do is, you can imagine or look at this y plus 1 as the same as the x. Same as the x. So instead of mx, it is m and then this whole bracket, y plus 1. 3nx, so instead of x, it is y plus 1. So if we take reference from this, my x basically changed to y plus 1. So this bracket is the common factor. And then what I will have is, basically, you see, my answer here is x and then m plus 3n, correct? So instead of x, it will be y plus 1. Right? It's the same. Followed by m plus 3n. Right, so this is factorization, all right, by common factor. Okay, in this case, the common factor is the entire bracket. Okay, entire bracket by itself. Right, so this will be the end of the video for first part. Right, do follow up to the next video where we'll be going through some practice questions that is going to help you with your homework. All right.